Two people can earn the same salary and live in different financial realities. A $400 surprise pushes one onto a credit card. The other absorbs it without changing the rest of the month. The first wealth divide is not salary. It is resilience. This video uses our own 7-level framework, not an official government ranking. The 7 levels are fragile, stable, buffered, positive net worth, asset builder, work optional, and financially independent. They are not 7 salary brackets. The first 3 levels are about surviving shocks. The middle levels turn margin into ownership. The final levels turn ownership into time and choice. If your paycheck stopped tomorrow, how long before your financial life changed? Level 1 is fragile. At this level, the household can function when everything goes according to plan, but even a modest disruption can create new debt or missed payments. In the Federal Reserve's latest household survey, 63% of adults said they could cover a hypothetical $400 emergency expense using cash or its equivalent. This is not a wealth cutoff. It is a simple resilience test. A repair, a medical bill, a temporary drop in income, or an expensive week can force the budget into emergency mode. This is why salary alone is such a weak shortcut for wealth. A high earner with large fixed costs, revolving debt, and almost no liquid savings can be more fragile than a lower earner with reserves and a lower cost base. The defining feature of level 1 is not poverty. It is low shock absorbing capacity. The next paycheck is doing most of the work. Level 2 is stable. Normal bills are getting paid. The month is usually manageable. There may even be money left over. The household is still highly dependent on continued income. A larger emergency can erase several months of progress. Stability and wealth are not the same thing. Stability means the month works. Wealth begins when that stability creates recurring margin, money that survives beyond normal obligations and can build the next levels. Level 3 is buffered. This is where resilience becomes visible. The household now has meaningful liquid savings. So many common emergencies can be handled without immediately creating new debt. The Federal Reserve uses 3 months of expenses as one common measure of financial resiliency. In 2025, 55% of adults said they had set aside that amount in an emergency or rainy day fund. 3 months is not a universal rule. Job risk, health, family obligations, and support systems differ. The principle is powerful. Liquidity buys time to handle a repair, search for a better job, or face a family emergency without immediately creating debt or selling long-term assets. At level 3, money starts protecting decisions instead of merely paying bills. Level 4 is positive net worth. Now we move from a monthly budget to the balance sheet. Income is a flow. Wealth is a stock. Net worth is the value of assets minus liabilities. The Federal Reserve's financial accounts use that same balance sheet logic when measuring household wealth at the national level. Positive net worth is not the finish line. Imagine someone with a home worth $400,000, a mortgage of $300,000, very little cash, and no meaningful investment account. A person in that situation may have positive net worth on paper and still be extremely dependent on each paycheck. Level 4 means the balance sheet has crossed an important line, but its composition still matters. How much is liquid? How much debt is expensive? And how much of the asset base can support future choices? Level 5 is asset builder. This is where the central mechanism of wealth becomes clear. Income creates the possibility. Margin creates the capacity. Liquidity protects the system. Debt reduction stops expensive interest from consuming future cash flow. Productive assets begin to move the household forward even when the next paycheck is not doing all the work. Those assets might include retirement accounts, diversified investments, business equity, or home equity. The mix differs by household. The direction matters. At level 5, recurring margin is consistently converted into ownership. This is the transition from earning money to building wealth. Two people with the same salary can then move in opposite directions. One converts raises into larger fixed commitments. The other converts part of those raises into assets. The paychecks can look identical while the balance sheets separate. Level 6 is work optional. This is where wealth starts buying something more valuable than visible consumption. It buys options. A work-optional household may still have a career, business, or full-time job. The difference is that losing that job no longer creates an immediate financial crisis. It may be able to reduce hours, change industries, care for family, relocate, or take a longer job search without instantly dismantling its financial position. This is why wealth is not just a larger spending budget. The deeper form is lower dependence on the next paycheck. There is no single national net worth number for this level. Assets, spending, liquidity, and risk matter more than one headline figure. Level 7 is financially independent. At this level, employment income is no longer required to fund the household's chosen core lifestyle over its planning horizon. Risk does not disappear. Taxes, inflation, and longevity still matter. Markets, healthcare, and spending still matter. Financial independence, therefore, cannot be reduced to one universal dollar figure. The key question is no longer, how large is the paycheck? It is whether the household's resources can support its chosen life without requiring continued labor income. At level 1, the paycheck controls the household. At level 7, the household decides whether the paycheck is still necessary. Where do you actually stand? Do not start with your salary. Start with the weakest link in your financial system. Can you regularly create margin after normal expenses? Could you absorb a meaningful emergency without creating new expensive debt? Do you have enough liquid savings to buy time when something goes wrong? Are your assets greater than your liabilities? Are you consistently converting part of your margin into productive assets? Could you step away from work for an extended period without immediately reversing years of progress? Could your resources support your chosen core lifestyle without employment income at all? Different parts of your financial life may sit at different levels. This is normal. The point is not the status label. It is the next transition. One person may need monthly margin. Another may need more liquidity or less debt. Another may need productive assets. Further along, wealth may need to become time, flexibility, and choice. Income tells you what arrives. Wealth tells you what remains, what you own, what shocks you can absorb, and how much choice you have when the paycheck is no longer in control.